You're going to get to see what LIEnette really thinks about the residents of Otter Creek. We've come to love moles. They feed us information that we couldn't get otherwise, except we actually can, because LIEnette is her own biggest mole, never shutting her mouth. Now, you've seen her in part of her deposition, and you've seen reality versus her posting in her standing in her trash website. We've got a tremendous amount of text messages from LIEnette to other residents in Otter Creek that'll be used against her in court. And we're gonna verbatim share what she has said about these individuals. Now, there are plenty of individuals that have come forward in Otter Creek that they want to witness and they want to testify against LIEnette. Now, keep in mind, LIEnette has said that 98% of the individuals and residents of Otter Creek love her and John CROOK. Well, true to her name, that is a complete and total lie. As a matter of fact, the residents of Otter Creek are so upset and so done with this, they're ready to take care of it and seal the deal in court. And we're going to share with you some of the text messages from LIEnette's own mouth so you can understand who this monster truly is. I think this is a good time to remind anybody who has given any kind of donation to a particular turd purgatory that, number one, LIEnette has passed due the date where she has to send out tax deductible receipts. And she legally has to send out tax deductible receipts for any money given, whether through Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, or through gifts in kind, whether it be cameras, gifts for Christmas, it doesn't matter. She must give out tax deductible receipts, which she has not. And if you gave anything, just a reminder, it might be time to start complaining to your government, as she's complaining about her government. As a matter of fact, I'm reading a text right now saying, yes, it is, they are afraid of what Russell's going to do. Take a look at it right there. They are afraid of what Russell's going to do. Now, I find that very odd. And again, I don't use that term anywhere near enough in Otter Creek, that it was LIEnette and John CROOK who set up signs in public posting areas, post office, which was immediately taken down, and they put up a 4-foot by 8-foot sign in their front yard, which is illegal. That property is part of a 501c3. You cannot be for or against any candidate in any election. You can run for an election. You cannot be for or against any candidate. And they were all about the corruption with Russell Stewart, Attorney Worm. And here LIEnette says, yes, it is. They are afraid of what Russell's going to do. And then at the bottom, she says, I need a copy of Sunshine Law. Now, to be honest, it's just my opinion, I'm not sure she would know what to do with Sunshine Law. Absolutely not. And then she says, oh, okay, I'm doing it in the morning. Now, you have to understand, this is a full conversation with an individual that is a resident of Otter Creek. And you also have to understand, with this particular individual, we have over 400 screenshots of messages that we're potentially going to share with you and are being used against her in court. This witness will be on the stand, and there are other witnesses that will be on the stand that are residents of Otter Creek. She goes on to say, John just put mine in the box, so now they have no excuse. And then this person says, yep, time for some change. And then she says, yep, I'm sure you'll get this one, but I'll keep trying for the next opening. And let's see, she says, the individual says, I bet Russell is upset. And LIEnette goes on to say, I bet he is. Yes, I'll run again in April. We'll see how this goes. Gail, and she spells Gail's name wrong, and Mike said to John that suits are going to start happening. So they're installing cameras all over their property. Now, I'm not sure what suits are about to happen means. I'm going to guess lawsuits. And I'm sure that Gail and Michael are putting cameras on their property, and they should. because they live directly across the street from LIEnette and John CROOK as well. And that is a revolving door for addicts. And that is a revolving door for abuse and neglect. And so I think it's extremely important that they do have protection. But this in itself, okay? This in itself right here, John put mine in the box. All right, what is that? Well, that means that she was going for a seat for the town hall council, which makes her, public official. And she's constantly put in letters for the town council. She just put one in weeks ago as she told the judge that she is literally paralyzed to her property. She's so scared and so fearful she can't leave her property. And then she literally files a motion. You're going to see this in hearing 3 if the courts ever legally release it. That she goes, Judge, can I run for town council or will that affect my injunction? No, you can't run for town council because you legally can't be in the building if myself, regardless of whether I have an injunction or not, on me from her in Florida, or George, which George also has a 500-foot civil protection order on her. She cannot. And it doesn't matter if you say what if in the comments and you go, Jeremy, you don't understand this. No, it's you who doesn't understand it. The individual who would say she can go in any public building. She cannot. The civil protection order, word for word, no public, no private. Levy County Sheriff is now. They are enforcing every aspect of this. She shows up, she gets arrested. She shows up, and even if Russell and Don the Con, Russ the Sus and Don the Con, they vote her in, somehow get her on the town council, she can have no third-party communication with George and I. And if George and I are in there, that's third-party communication, she gets arrested. You can see right here, she's trying to overthrow Russ the Sus. LIEnette again says, I need a copy of all the sunshine laws. And it's interesting that she goes on to say, well, first she says, I need a copy of the sunshine law, print it out and the bylaws here so I can read up on it. Ugh. Funny thing is over 500 screenshots. She always ends it with, ugh, U-G-H ... All right. And then she says, oh yeah, for sure, it was a setup, okay? And so look at that right there. What's the setup? Right up here, what's the setup? The setup is there was an open position on the board. It's Laura Mott, and we are not for Mott by any stretch of the imagination, steps down to run for county commissioner. Therefore, there's an opening now. Russ the Sus becomes mayor again instead of Laura Mott. And then they try to put Captain Dan in that position without letting anybody know that there's an open position, where LIEnette actually put her letter of, you would call it letter of interest in the inbox, letting them know that she wanted the position. Because despite what Don the Con says, there is no application. There never was for such a position. And so did another individual in the town of Otter Creek, Therese Granger, which you have now known as Madam Mayor. And then check this out. She says, I'm going to get some signs made up for April. Huh. Who do we know who sets signs up? Oh, that's right. Oh, there were signs made up, 11 of them posted all over Otter Creek in May. And she claims that not a single person in Otter Creek ever saw those signs, even though we have them in our physical possession, and they will be in the courtroom. And, well, we'll just say we have all the proof that's needed to prove who actually wrote them. Again, she says, they violate all the rules. She says it right here. She says, again, they violate all the rules. She's talking about Russ the Sus, Stuart Stewart, Laura Mott. She's talking about all these individuals, Don the Con. She's talking about all these people that now she's aligned herself with, okay? Flip-flop like a fish out of water. Or maybe a turtle being baked in a galvanized pool of water, of feces and urine. You know, rotten meat. And she goes on to say, we need to print up a mailing to send to every resident explaining Tyner change. I don't know. What does Tyner mean? I'm not sure what Tyner means. But Hopefully she can explain it when she's on the witness stand, and I have no doubt it's going to be not for one day, it's going to be for days. Explaining Tyner changes needed so we can make Otter Creek the best town that it can be. Okay, and she goes, I will ask people here. They need to know about me. Changes we need here. Apparently Otter Creek did need changes. You'll love this. All right, here it is right here. It has everything to do with CPS. Now, keep in mind that LIEnette and Crook have stated in court that we have contacted CPS 10, no, 100, no, 1,000 times. That is a complete and total quote of John Crook. And here, LIEnette says to a resident of Otter Creek, I have a favor. My daughter has law enforcement in Iowa and Children Protective Services. Right there, you'll see CPS believing that I'm crazy. Huh. Well, if anybody would know, it'd be her actual family and daughters, right? Ugh, it's stupid. So I'm getting anyone who knows me to write something saying I'm a good person, not crazy. I'm a good person. I'm not crazy. Even though professional doctors have already stated that this woman is unhinged. Yes, I lose my mind at times. Look at this right here, right here. You're going to see, yes, I lose my mind at times. Yep, I lose my mind at times. When she's naughty or he goes agar me till I can't take it, but I'm far from crazy. I told him not to ruin, but I couldn't control what he did. Ugh, if you don't mind doing it, let me know. Okay, Michelle, you can see it right here, okay? Now, I will share with you that this individual that she wrote this text to did not write any type of letter whatsoever because this individual didn't know her enough. But she did know enough to know that she is crazy and to keep her at an arm's length and a distance, because the last thing you want to do is invite that crazy into your life. We never invited that crazy into our lives. That crazy stalked our lives and continues to do so. This is the same crazy person that asked people to write her letters for court. Letters of recommendation from people she's never met physically, one-on-one, personally, in her life. And if any of these individuals, whether in California, whether in Wisconsin, whether in, it doesn't matter what state, whether in Bronson in Florida, would ever meet her one-on-one, you automatically would know she's crazy. Of course, that's unless you yourself are the same type of crazy, and that ain't okay. She's got some stuff to say about Mary and Norma. We're just easing into the real juicy stuff. This one is about Mary and Norma. So you can see this whole text message right here. By the way, Norma, I know you're watching, and she calls you the old lady. So Norma Adams, you are now the old lady. Oh, and she has quite a few things negative to say about you. Not in this text, but others. So I just went in the office to see if we had any overdue water bills or anything. And Mary had the old woman help her look up my account on the computer and everything. She's training her and letting her have all of our information, meeting social media, security numbers, and everything. I'm wondering if legally they have the right to let that lady into the computers. That's funny. That's really funny. All of a sudden, LIEnette is worried about doing things legally. Could we potentially start a whole list of the illegal things she has done? All right, she's breaking Levy County statute with reptiles that are closer than a quarter of a mile away from any residence. All right, we'll go there. Camper on the property is illegal, and you're going, well, hold a second. You can put a camper on a piece of property. You can do it the legal way, like ours is, or you do it the illegal way, like theirs is. And so you've got illegal camper on the property, then brought in another illegal camper. You can't do that either. And then that camper ended up being stolen. And then there was a drug addict actually shooting random rounds throughout the entire North Otter Creek Road as I was in the car on the phone with George. Could have lost my life that day, along with others, my neighbors that I hold dear across the street. Let's see. Other illegal things. Well, we've already touched base about putting signs up in the yard that are for or against candidates. We've got the aspect of you're a 501c3, you're taking gifts in kind from Winn-Dixie, and then you're giving that food out. Oh yeah, we have those texts as well. Giving the food out to people to work in exchange and work on your property. And we have the text from John CROOK stating that they're giving the rotten food from the dumpsters to the child. We've got that as well. So now you're taking this rotten food, and instead of what it's designated for, and that's what you have to use a gift for when you're a 501c3, legally you have to use exactly what it's designated for the animals. Now you're giving it out to, well, let's just call it what it is. They're meth heads. All right, it's all methed up, and they're exchanging rotten food for any cheap labor to do anything on this turd purgatory. So you've got that going on. Illegal living in a shed. Not only illegal living in a shed, but the washer and dryer illegally, and the outdoor shower illegally putting gray water into the Florida lands. I'm missing a handful of things. There's no doubt. It kind of just goes on and on and on. And I already mentioned not giving out tax deductible receipts yet. That's illegal. Accepting donations and not reporting it. That's illegal. We could go on and on and on and on. And here, all she's worried about is the old lady. The old lady is now going to have her social security number and everything. Look at that. And everything. The old lady. And just so we're very clear, I'm sorry, it's the old woman. It's not the old lady, it's the old woman, and that is Norma Adams. I'm wondering if they legally have the right to let that lady in the computers. And she goes on to say other things, but as you know, her rants are just like miles long. She used to text me, and I would just ignore it. I would never even read it because it's nothing but complete and total nonsense from a mentally unstable individual. You want to know what the funniest part about that text is? She's worried about Norma having her address. Her address in a town of under 100 people. Where there was 71 registered voters in the last election, where everybody knows everybody's address. She's worried about Norma having her address. Our address, their address is payment information. That don't seem right. How in the world could it not seem right that the individuals in the town hall of Otter Creek don't have your address? I mean, come on. You literally posted out on a piece of garbage your address, and we've used that to identify your handwriting. This is, you understand I'm speaking rhetorically right now, how foolishness, how ridiculousness this whole statement is. Don't seem right that they have our address, and yet she puts it out in the front of the road, and we're using it to actually incriminate her with her own handwriting. More ridiculousness. She says, I'm not sure John knows. And they're talking about the open seat for town hall. She says, I'm not sure John knows. He talked to Gail. Doesn't spell Gail's name right at all, which is the norm. You understand that. Remember, she said she graduated high school early and went to college early, which reality is, and you'll see this in the depositions this week, she actually dropped out of high school, and then she went back and got her GED, and then she dropped out of Bible college, 1 semester of Bible college. I guess that's when she went to pole dancing. But, okay. Went to the Pope and then to the pole. I don't know, something like that. Who knows? She says, he talked to Gail. Mary threatened Gail. Look at that. Mary threatened Gail. These are her words. This is LIEnette Preston's words. And says, Mary threatened Gail and told her seat is up for vote. John said they can't put 4 up. It's illegal. Well, if we all know anything, it's that John knows everything. LIEnette's asking the question, are the residents of Otter Creek crooked or are they stupid? Let's see what she has to say here. She goes, John just told me where. All right, see how she actually typed where? W-E apostrophe R-E. And she's calling them stupid? Okay, the correct word would be W-H-E-R-E, as in where is something. John just told me where
Weird.
She's stupid. She put the ad for employment in the paper. I would never look in the legal part of the paper for a job. Crooked or stupid? Okay, so here's what you need to understand. They did do something very corrupt, okay? Stuart Stewart was vice mayor, and there was another individual in the town. Her name is Angela. And Stuart Stewart, probably in the aspect of inappropriateness between a male and a female, told Angela, oh, the job is yours, the job is yours, the job is yours. I would, in the aspect of flirting or whatever you want to say, okay, promised her a job that, number one, wasn't legally posted. And number two, she legally didn't submit any interest whatsoever. Just went out and told her it was her job. Now what happened is there was individuals in town that got wind of this, and so they put in interest. And that was Madam Mayor Therese Granger and LIEnette. And then they put in their interest, and guess what? They did not get the job. What are they, crooked or stupid? Okay, so LIEnette goes on to say they didn't want any applicants. They want the D lady. I didn't know D had anything to do with the lady. I thought the D had everything to do with the fellas, but they want any applicants. They want the D lady they have in there. I'm going to write an ethics violation letter. I'm not sure how, but I'm going to. And then she goes on to say, I wonder, this is not a joke, I wonder, is she corrupt or is she stupid? Okay, I wonder if any investigative news team would help us out and investigate and run the story. You don't have to wonder any longer, because What the Hales came in, broke the story, and continues to tell the story. We are the investigators, we are the news team, and we continue to broadcast it on a daily basis. And by the way, your wish came true. This wish absolutely came true in Otter Creek. All right, now, how about a mailer to everybody in Otter Creek? How about we don't need a mailer to everybody in Otter Creek? How about we absolutely understand that this is being covered, has been covered, and she doesn't like that she's on the wrong side of it, because she's now being exposed for who she truly is and what she's truly done. What's she got to say about Russ the Sus and Stuart Stewart? Well, she says, okay, he runs the town and Stuart is a crony. Not sure what a crony is. It might be like macaroni, just not as bent and crooked. I don't know. Crony, macaroni. There's somewhere in there. I'm sure that's what Stuart Stewart is. He used to have a Segway. He used to drive around town in a Segway and try and pick up chicks. He would literally, this is not a joke, if you ask some of the females, he would say, hey, you want to go for a ride on my Segway? And to this day, I don't think anybody accepted that offer. Oh, by the way, Stuart Stewart has actually put in his application for the next election. I find that odd, and yet again, I'm still not using that term anywhere near enough in Otter Creek, that he hasn't been at a single meeting, not even one meeting in town hall, when he's not been on the board. But now he's put in his letter again, or his information to run for town council, and yet he's not been involved even as a participant or a resident of Otter Creek. Why? Is $100 that much to these people a month? Why? If you're so interested, you want to represent the people, don't you think you would actually show up to the meetings when you're not paid by the people? Apparently not. This is about Attorney Warm. Well, we can send a complaint to him on the Board of Attorneys. He's not good with sunshine law. Again, I find this very odd that somebody who doesn't understand any aspect of law whatsoever and continues to break them on a daily basis and will be arrested and will spend time in jail is saying that an attorney is not good with sunshine law. Now, I can't comment yay or nay in the aspect of Attorney Warm on sunshine law, except when given the task that he had to provide me all public records from town hall that I requested, I got zero, nothing. And that was absolutely against the law. And it was his responsibility. Mary passed it off to him. He wrote me an email saying I'm now responsible for this. So there is not much I agree with this woman on, but I will agree that he definitely did not fulfill the responsibilities of sunshine law. And she goes on to say, yeah, he's a loser. He's a loser right there. Yeah, well, they posted signs all over town. Okay. She goes, good question for them all. Why take applications or make us fill out papers? They're never going to use us. John being, well, you can see it right there. John being overtaken with drink at every meeting doesn't help. That's funny because she wants to state that the child's grandmother is the same type of person, and therefore she had to move to Otter Creek to save her from her grandmother. And yet this is the person that she's leaving a child with. By the way, illegally, very much so illegally, out in front of the courthouse in Levy County, because Crook can't be within 500 feet of us on any private or public road. And it's a public road illegally because Crook can't be there because we're there. If he's not scheduled for court, he can't be out there when we're there and parked. He can't be anywhere near a vehicle. He can't be within 500 feet. And he's 3 times so far, which, by the way, if you're following the dockets on Levy County, you'll see there's a preservation of evidence. And it's actually the state attorney getting all the camera footage for incriminating Crook for being there 3 times. And this is the woman that's entrusting, let's see, what do we call that again? I have a child. She is terminally ill. No, that's not it. That's not it. What is it, George? Life-threatening. Life-threatening.
But it's metabolic as well.
Life-threatening. And this is the woman that leaves this child with a life-threatening disease with a man for hour upon hour in a vehicle, locked up. She's got some things to say. She's going to flip these people out. Remember, this is an ordained minister by her own words, not by any else's words. And I think I should explain what an ordained minister is, okay? So, for example, I have all the training, and the training of Bible and theology is not enough to be an ordained minister. To be ordained means to be called of God. Okay, that's the literal interpretation, to be called of God. And typically what happens is, if you were to say, I want to be in full-time ministry, I want to be a full-time pastor, preacher, ordained minister, what you would do is you would sit in before a panel of like-minded peers that are ordained, and they would literally, it's not quiz you, but it is test your knowledge and theology of what God's word says, okay? So they're going to ask you questions about the second coming of Christ. They're going to ask you questions that most people don't ever ask, and see if you actually know God's word. Now, I can tell you this woman has no concept of what God's word truly means. Now, she can go to it and go, well, I think it means this. Well, what she thinks doesn't mean anything in regards to what it actually does mean. All right, one meaning, many applications, but one meaning when we look at Scripture, and we can apply it different ways. She has never, ever in her life sat before. First of all, she doesn't know God's word or theology, okay? She's proven that over and over again with her postings, all right? She does not have any education in God's word, and that's not to say you have to have formal education in college to know God's word or to know God. You don't. You just don't. You can learn it by learning it. It's that simple, okay? And then the other aspect is loving people. And there are individuals that are not easy to love. And hands down, I struggle with that. I mean, I struggle with these individuals. They are not easy to love, and nor do I want to show them any love as they continue to expel hate to all of the residents of Otter Creek. It's not okay. And so she is not ordained. What she did is went on a website, and then she put in her information, and they sent her a piece of paper back that said, yep, you're an ordained minister. That piece of paper is completely and totally meaningless. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of individuals in Otter Creek that went and did it as well in under 3 minutes. The current record that we're going for is under 30 seconds now to become an ordained minister in Otter Creek. You have no idea how many ordained ministers there are in Otter Creek. And again, all of it's on paper. It literally means nothing. Nothing at all. So she claims to be an ordained minister, as you've seen already, and she says, what a joke they all are. Well, let me share that the joke is on the whole world because she is not an ordained minister. That piece of paper means literally nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever. She says, you watch, I'm going to pray over this town hall and downtown, and God will flip these people out. Bye-bye. Yeah, she says bye-bye. She might as well just say, bye, Felicia. She says, I have faith. Okay, she's praying over downtown. Well, let me ask you a serious question. I mean, if she's an ordained minister, let's pose this question. What if the people in town hall actually claim to be ordained ministers as well? And they're praying to protect town hall against these horrific people that just moved in, LIEnette and John CROOK. So they're saying, well, we're close to God, and I'm praying to God that you'll keep them out of town hall. And then she's saying, well, I'm close to God. I'm going to pray over them to flip them, get them out of town hall. Okay. So if they're out of town hall, does that mean she's the one that's closer to God because she claims to be an ordained minister? Or if they stay in town hall, does that mean they're closer to God? No. The answer is no. Which, by the way, it did flip, didn't it? Madam Mayor got in. Vice Mayor Zim got in. Gail was in. And it was started to go the right direction. Now, do you think that's because of her? No. Do you think that's because of God? Well, I believe God's sovereign, which means he's in control of all things, all time, all space. But I don't believe that this woman truly has any type of relationship with God. And you could be going, well, Jeremy, the way I see you act, I don't think you do either. Well, here's the thing. I realize because of my faults, I absolutely need a relationship with God. Christians are not perfect. They recognize they're flawed and they have problems. And mine are plentiful. I've got plenty of problems, which is why I cry out to God, I need you. September 10th, 2022. Who was the mayor then, George? Was that?
Rust the Sauce.
Rust the Sauce. LIEnette Preston, who claims, by the way, she claimed this in her depositions, which is legally under oath, that she has always gone by the name Michelle, which is a complete and total lie. She's gone by the names Lexi and Lacey and Lacey Alexis. I combined them. Okay, Lacey. And her family called her Spacey Lacey because she's so messed up in the head. She's changed her name so many times. Her legal name is LIEnette. It's not Michelle, but in her deposition, she claimed that she is always God-given name Michelle. She has never, ever gone by Michelle. She's gone by Lacey, and she's changed her name so many times because of all the destruction that she's created and then runs from. And so LIEnette says, the mayor is stalking us right now. All right, well, let's talk about stalkers. When you see a YouTube video and then you specifically try to buy property across the street from that said YouTuber, and then you try and utilize their fan base, and you want to utilize their social influence and their fan base for funding and for money and for jobs and it goes on and on and on, which is funny to us because we have text after text after text after text of her stating that she wants money from our fans. There's so many people that follow them. I need the money from their fans. Do you think they'll let their fans give me money? And yet she wants to complain that our fans give us money. So hold a second. So it's okay for our fans to give her money, but it's not okay in her mind for our fans to give us money. How do you understand the mind of an unhinged person? But she does claim that she's being stalked by the mayor. Now, here is something I have to ask, because she's filed for a stalking injunction against myself. And she's yet to give any evidence whatsoever. And here she's claiming that she's being stalked by the mayor, Rust the Sus. I'm curious, did she go to the courthouse? Did she file out a petition and claim that Rust the Sus was stalking her in Otter Creek? Or did she just state it and say something on our property is very interesting to him? New pole dancer in town, I guess. Or maybe he got right with Jesus. He just wants to go to her church.
Isn't this the same Russ that showed up to court and sat behind her to support her?
Yes. So apparently she was right. He is stalking her. shared in the past Russ the Sus as a creeper, slowly driving by, creeping around different areas with females and children, and it's not okay. And she does confirm this, which is funny because she also confirmed that John likes to abuse drink, and she leaves a child with him. And now she's saying that this man is a creep. She literally says, I mean, wow. He drove by, slowed, almost to a stop, cleaning his head. I'm going to say maybe she meant leaning. Cleaning his head so hard, I thought we needed a priest. Okay, but this is also the individual that you're bringing into the courtroom now. So you're claiming...
why would she need a priest if she's ordained?
Oh, that's true. That's true. She's an ordained minister. So we have a couple issues here. Number one, she claims he's a stalker, and she's letting him around the child. But she also has another person who abuses drink that's always around the child. So I guess if one is okay, two must be great in her mind. She's an ordained minister, so I guess that just proves that she's not an ordained minister. Don't need a priest anymore. And then she goes on to say, oh my gosh, it's invasive what he's doing. Again, I still have to ask the question, did she file a petition for stalking in the Levy County Courts? And then she goes on for another creeper named Chad. Okay. And so she says, yeah, I'm alone here today. I'm creeper out over Chad. And so I have now decided to keep my firearm on at all time. It would be times. And then, ugh. You can almost see that turtleneck come out. Ugh, screaming at a camera. Ugh, as she was screaming at my lawyer. Okay. Chad. George, who's Chad? Was that the creeper that John actually pulled out a firearm on?
Yes, he is a drug addict.
Known drug addict.
Turns out he's on the offender list.
He's also on the offender list, and this is an individual they had on their property, and then John actually pulled a firearm out on him.
And because no one recorded it,
therefore nothing happened,
it became
and
hearsay.
John did not go to jail over it.
Which is why we record every time.
By the way, she has a tremendous amount to say about that incident in the texting as well. You want to know what she thinks about my neighbors Brian and Tina? Well, you're about to see it. Remember when I bought the church property that we did not try and purchase because we thought actually Brian and Tina would want to purchase it since it's right next to them, and it sat for months and months and months and months, and then I finally went, you know what, we're going to buy it. And then they were poaching, and they had the feed bucket on my property. Well, she has a lot to say. January 1st, 2023. Oh, by the way, she claims that Brian and Tina are besties. Tina's nothing but a huge gossip monger, and that's it. And they both have massive issues. And so the strong drink is one of them. So she says this, hi. So I told the kid, Brian and Tina's kid, she states the name, that he should go and pick up his feed bucket and his camera because Jeremy was nice enough to leave them for him, and John went with him to go talk to Tina and Brian, and they said that they're actually going to go after Jeremy because they have it on camera. They're going out of him going on their property, taking their feedback. I assume that's supposed to be feed bucket. It says feedback it. It's towards the bottom. Feedback it. I would assume it's going to be feed bucket. And their camera down and trespassing. Oh my goodness, those people are nuts. Well, there's no doubt about it. Those people have tremendous amount of issues. And yeah, they're your kind of nuts and crazy. What kind of foolish people illegally sell a piece of property without disclosing encroachments, knowing that, number one, it's against the law, and number two, I can go back and get all of my purchase price from all of the family members, and then trespass on property, destroy property, creating, well, one of the greatest pieces of American folk art. Well, the start of one of the greatest pieces of American folk art, probably here in Levy County. Another master artist had to come in and put the fine-tooth pieces on the wooden finger. But then to claim that they're going to go after me for trespassing when they And I could have called Fish and Game and had them both arrested. As a matter of fact, we already have a lawyer that is working. We hire lawyers for different things, okay? And you have to understand there are different priorities in those matrices. And we have a statute of limitations. And the statute of limitations to get all the money back for the property is 10 years. And so there are different things. We got town hall, we got the neighbors across the street, but we already are in the process. The lawyer's already hired to go back and get all of the money for the purchase price. It's just not the highest priority right now. You got to work on this, you got to work on this, you got to work on this. Okay, so you got the town hall, same lawyer that we were working with in regards to the town hall. And so the very first thing he wanted us to do was actually take the footage and call Fish and Wildlife and have them arrested for trespassing and for poaching. And I decided yet again to be patient and to be graceful and to not do that. But I am going for all of my purchase price back from these people. And to see here, this is the issue. This woman is so psychotic and so mental. Do I actually trust what she was texting to another resident of Otter Creek? And she did text this. There's no doubt about it. Can she be trustworthy to say that Brian and Tina are going to try and go after me? Which I don't doubt whatsoever. They talk about behind my back all the time. All the time. See, that's what a coward does. Talks about you behind your back. They don't have the cojones to actually talk to you to your face about any of this stuff. And I have no problem. As a matter of fact, I would love to have a face-to-face. But yet, she says, oh my goodness, those people are nuts. January 7th, she's got some things to say about her neighbor, Gail. She says, I guess we'll have to figure it out Tuesday at the meeting, talking about town hall. She says, we need a game plan. Gail told me. Now, I want to be very clear. Anytime LIEnette says somebody told her something, I take it all with a grain of salt because this woman is psychotic, okay? And a pathological liar. And so even though she said Gail told her, I take this with a grain of salt. But I think Gail should know that this stuff is going out about her. Gail told me that something is up and that Russell is hiding something. And she knows it just from being around the conversations that she has overheard with him, with Mary, and with others. There's something big that he's covering up. Okay, so apparently Gail is now giving LIEnette some insider information in regards to Russell and Mary. And now, again, if this were true, number one, that incriminates Gail because I believe Gail was still on the council at this time. And so I'm going to say that LIEnette is true to her name. She's a pathological liar. And so I seriously doubt that Gail would have had any conversations with LIEnette. But I think it's important that the people of Otter Creek know that she's putting this stuff out to other people and stating these things about them. And I don't doubt that there was definitely something going on between Russell and Mary. Remember, at this time, during this date, George and I were actually in Vegas. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Hawaii.
We went to California.
All happening. We went to go, this was almost around Coptic Christmas. Mm-hmm. So we were in California with Aunt Camelia George. Yep. So you have to understand, we're completely and totally out of the picture. We're in another side of the country right now. We're not even here on our own property. And all of this is going on. All this gossip and backbiting and talk. Again, that's not who I am. I'll tell you directly to your face what I think and how I feel about you. And I have no problem with that. And I think that's one of the issues, I've stated this before, that people in this area, they're not used to that. They're not used to a person that is upfront and means what they say and says what they mean. So here it is. It's all backbiting. It's all gossip. And then they want to claim, when you call them out on it, they want to claim, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. She goes on to say more about Gail. And again, she says some horrific things about individuals that when we share things about what this woman has done to us, we share this much out of this much, okay? And we're getting to the point of sharing more and more. You think it would have stopped by now. And so when we're sharing what she says about the residents, we're sharing the least offensive things out of all this much. So she says she was very serious too, meaning Gail, and that she said it really bothers her that she's not given any information about anything. She's just supposed to sit at the meeting and say, "Yes, sir," to Russell. And she doesn't want to do that. "Yes, sir," to Russell. Okay. And then she goes on to say, "Oh, I hope so too. I bet David bezeled money." Okay. I bet David bezeled money. All right. Last I checked, there is no David in this whole gameplay of Town Hall. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to mean I bet they embezzled money. I mean, it's got to be something like that. Well, you know, LIEnette is putting in her name for town council. Maybe she wants to get in on the little embezzlement action as well. If she thinks that's what they're doing, and remember, she's now aligned herself with Russ the Sus. Remember, she opened a P.O. box in Bronson just for communication and cards and gifts for Mary, which you're going to see in the depositions. Mary hasn't spoken one word to her. Not a word. You think any gifts and cards for Mary were ever going to be intended to give to Mary? Not one word has been spoken to Mary. As a matter of fact, she goes on to say, if we're able to flip this board, what's the first thing she wants to do?
I hope to God that we fire Mary first.
I hope to God that we fire Mary first. Oh, her whole goal was to get Mary fired and out of town hall.